What if the secret to winning isn't thinking positive, but imagining everything that could fall apart? Sounds strange, right? But stay with me, because this simple mental shift might be the fastest way to finally get the results you want. Most people grow up hearing some version of focus on the bright side, as if optimism alone could magically bulldoze every obstacle in your path. But let's be real, life doesn't care if you're hopeful. Projects fail, plans fall apart, timing gets messy, and sometimes the universe throws a banana peel directly under your feet. That's why today we're exploring something counterintuitive, refreshing, and honestly a little rebellious. Using negative thinking as a high-performance tool. Not to scare yourself, not to freeze, not to sabotage your hopes, but to finally work with reality instead of pretending it's a motivational poster. Because the true benefit of this approach is simple. When you imagine what could go wrong, you stop being blindsided and start being ready. Think about how we plan most goals. We picture success, we write down steps, we hype ourselves up, and then everything derails the moment something unexpected shows up. That's not a lack of ambition. That's a lack of rehearsal. Positive thinking gives you a direction, but negative thinking gives you armor. When you allow yourself to examine the failure scenarios, not dramatic, apocalyptic ones, but realistic ones, you begin to see the structure of your goal differently. You start noticing weak spots, pressure points, dependencies you've been ignoring. And that, right there, is where the magic starts. Because once you see the cracks, you can reinforce them. This isn't pessimism. Pessimism is assuming nothing will work. Strategic negative thinking is the opposite, is believing success is possible if you're honest about what stands in the way. Pilots do this before every takeoff. Athletes do it before competitions. Even top-level leaders rehearse failures in their minds so they can react faster and better. You don't need a fancy title or extreme lifestyle to use the same strategy. You only need the courage to look at your goal and say, okay, where could this go sideways? Then you map the answers. And suddenly your mind becomes sharper, your planning becomes cleaner, and your chances of success jump way higher. So let me ask you something. If imagining setbacks could actually help you move forward faster, why aren't more people doing it? Want to know the real reason this method feels uncomfortable, and why that discomfort is actually your biggest advantage? The answer is simple. The mind hates discomfort. We're wired to chase pleasant thoughts, victories, rewards, applause, and avoid anything that smells like failure. So when someone says, imagine what could go wrong, the brain reacts like you just suggested petting a live electrical wire. But here's the twist. That discomfort is exactly what gives this method its power. It forces the mind out of autopilot and into true strategic awareness. When you look at your goals through the lens of what could go wrong, you shift from fantasy planning to reality planning. Reality planning is where all the results happen. You spot obstacles earlier, you prepare solutions faster, and you make decisions with a confidence that feels almost unfair. Imagine preparing for a conversation, a project, a launch, a habit change, and already knowing the 3 or 4 most likely ways it could get messy. You'd walk into the situation calmer, clearer, and more resilient than 90% of people. This is why researchers and performance experts emphasize anticipation over motivation. Motivation pushes you forward. Anticipation keeps you upright when motivation fades, or when life drops a surprise challenge on your doorstep. And here is the part we don't talk about enough. Negative rehearsal doesn't make you anxious. It makes you less anxious. Anxiety thrives on the unknown. When you shine a flashlight on the dark corners of your plan, the fear shrinks. You're no longer whispering, I hope nothing bad happens. You're saying, if something bad happens, I know exactly what I'll do. That shift hope to readiness is the functional benefit most people don't realize they're missing. So the next time you're planning something important, try this. Write down the top 3 ways it could go wrong. Then write 1 practical action you can take today to lower the chance of each one happening. It's simple, it's fast, and it immediately puts you in control. But here's a bigger question. What happens when negative thinking doesn't just protect you, but actually helps you outperform others who rely only on optimism? Here is what happens. When you use negative thinking strategically, you unlock a mindset that's flexible, adaptable, and ready for anything. You stop being the person who collapses the moment plans shift, and you become the person who adjusts on the fly calmly, intelligently, and with almost unfair precision. That alone already gives you an advantage, but something even more interesting happens. When you plan for obstacles ahead of time, your brain stops wasting energy on fear. It's like clearing mental RAM. You no longer running dozens of anxious "what if" simulations in the background because you've already rehearsed them consciously. This frees your attention to focus on execution, creativity, and strategy. The truth is, this mindset doesn't make you negative. It makes you unstoppable. You start moving through your life with a grounded confidence that isn't fragile or dependent on perfect circumstances. You can approach relationships with clearer boundaries, approach work with sharper expectations, approach goals with more intelligent structure. You start trusting yourself more because you are no longer hoping things work, you are preparing for them to work. And ironically, that's when optimism becomes more powerful. Not the superficial kind that collapses at the first sign of difficulty, but a deeper optimism built on preparation and clarity. When you combine the vision of where you want to go with the honesty of what might get in the way, you create a version of yourself who isn't just dreaming, you're directing. So if you want to build a more resilient life, start treating negative thinking like a tool, not a warning sign. Train your mind to explore the obstacles before they hit you, and you'll discover how much easier it becomes to navigate challenges that once felt overwhelming. And if this message resonates with you, if it helps you see your goals in a more powerful, more strategic way, I'd be incredibly grateful if you'd subscribe to the channel. It helps more than you know, and I'd love to keep building this journey with you, step by step, thought by thought, in a community that's learning to win smarter, not louder.